Hi. I was thinking today about boundaries, and we talk about them so easily and we talk about them so readily, and everybody knows that you're supposed to have them, and it's healthy to have good boundaries. It's good to know what your boundaries are. It's absolutely wise to know how to express them, and mandatory that you know how to reinforce them and maintain them. But why is it that we don't want to set boundaries? Well, I was thinking about it today when I was talking with a friend. In fact, the guest on my most recent relationship help show, Liberty Forest, we were just chatting about a few things in life and how we come by the things that we do. And we were having a bit of a laugh because we're both Canadian. And I was saying that I think being Canadian doesn't help to learn to set boundaries, because when you come from a culture that is so based in being polite, thinking about the other person, going a mile in their moccasins, all the things that we're encouraged to do, or were for my generation of Canadians, that boundary setting means saying to somebody, stop. And we're not good at that. Or maybe you came from a family where your boundaries were non-existent, where everybody just trampled over everybody else and there were no separations. And then you learn that boundaries are a good thing. And then what do? How do you deal with that? Many times you'll find yourself in a relationship with a toxic person much more easily because you don't have strong boundaries. So when they behave badly, the good, compassionate, loving side of you, the side that wants to believe that they really didn't intend to do the things that they did that are so negative and hurtful, that side leaps into action and starts making excuses and justifying the behavior and rationalizing the behavior and trying to take all of the red flags away, just chop them down. And that's a good thing. Occasionally, because we all have a bad day, we all do something that is less than wonderful, and we could be perceived as someone's idea of a difficult person. However, when you're with someone who always tramples your boundaries, you have to wake up and smell the herbal tea. And that doesn't mean that they're a hijackal or a difficult, disturbing, toxic person. It may. But it may also mean that they're just somebody who's so used to having their own way that they don't even think about it. They make assumptions, grand assumptions that you want to do everything for them, that they should be able to ask anything of you, and that you are, being a good person and a good friend, will respond. And that's where you feel that strange, uneasy feeling, like something's not right here. Can't quite put my finger on it. Don't want to be miserable and nasty. Don't want to say something that is really unkind, but something's not right here. And that feeling that you have inside is the feeling that says, you didn't make a boundary. You didn't say, here's the line where I stop and you start. You don't get to come over the boundary into my space. So if you're with somebody who makes assumptions, they assume that you'll be home when they want to talk to you. They assume that when they phone, you will want to be available. They just make assumptions, and they ask silly questions like, well, why didn't you answer the phone? As if you should be sitting there waiting for their call. And that's just a tiny example of the way people have no boundaries. And you may not have thought of that. And so today I just wanted to bring up a few of these things because they're simple, but they're the things that give you that prickly feeling that, no, I didn't like that very much feeling, or who do you think you are exactly feeling? And then you probably dismiss that feeling and say, oh, I'm being petty, or oh, I'm being small, and I should just open my heart more, have more largesse. I should just rationalize, justify, or excuse their behaviors and press down the feeling that I have. And I want to encourage you to start in small ways. You may have people in your life, family, friend, coworker, whatever, who is really very unclear about that place between where you stop, and they start. That boundary. And you have to take responsibility. If you've never put it in place, if you've never said that's the deal for me, then you start there. And you don't have to be rigid and awful and horrible and strong about it. You just say, I don't accept phone calls. I did this with a friend the other day. I said, you may have noticed that I don't answer your text or answer the telephone before 8 a.m. because she had a habit of calling at 7 o'clock, and she knows who I'm talking about if she happens to be listening. And I said to her, you may have noticed that, and I just want to tell you that I will never answer a text, nor will I answer the phone before 8 a.m., and I'd appreciate it if my phone didn't ring at those times. And yes, I do leave my phone on in case somebody has an emergency and they need to talk to me. Oh, no problem, she said, and hasn't done it. But that's a boundary, you see? It's just very simple, easily expressed, understood between the two. Now, where problems occur, hijackals aside, where problems occur is if you express your boundary and the person comes back to you, well, that's not my problem. If you don't want to hear your phone, turn it off. Yeah, that's one solution. The other solution could be I could block you altogether. I don't want to do that. I would much prefer that you just honored my request not to call me before 8 a.m. Now, that's on the simple side. What if you're with a hijackal and they're constantly trampling your boundaries? In fact, your boundaries are a challenge to them. You set it up and they see if they can trample it, how quickly and how well. And if you've been with a hijackal, remember my definition of hijackals: people who hijack relationships for their own purposes, while they relentlessly scavenge them for power, status, and control. So all they want is what they want. My way or the highway is I'm going to win, you're going to lose, and everything's going to be your fault. So when you set a boundary with a hijackal, they go, oh, no, that's not going to happen. I'm going to take care of that one right away. And they come at it with the big guns and try to blow it away. That doesn't mean that it's gone, that your boundary isn't set. You're the one who set the boundaries, so you just reiterate. This is what's true for me. This is what I'd prefer. You don't say, I want you to do that, because you're not their mother and you're not in control of what they do anyway. You're in control of what you do. So you say, I prefer not to receive calls before 8 a.m. or text or anything that makes noise, and that's not going to change. And if it persists, then I will simply have to block the number. So I'm not talking about the other person at all. I'm saying what's important to me and what I will do if the boundary is crossed. So start with the small things, just little things in your life. Sit down and think about things that irk you. Don't you love that word? It's kind of onomatopoeic. It irks you. It just gets under your skin. Think about something that somebody does, somebody you care about, that irks you, and see if you could practice just kindly and honestly setting a boundary about yourself, no mention of the other person, and then just say what your preference is. Don't put a consequence on it. The first part of setting a boundary is to simply set it. Then you see if it's honored. Then you reiterate it if it isn't. And the third time, you set a consequence. That's the way I think it ought to run anyway, and I hope that helps you. Because for many of us, setting boundaries means like we're not kind. It means that we're not friendly, and that's not the case at all. It means that we know ourselves well and we're willing to share our true selves with the other person and let them know what our preferences are, what would make us happy, what we'd like to have happen, and how they can help. And that's in a healthy relationship. Remember, there are 3 things that are absolutely key to a healthy relationship: equality, reciprocity, and mutuality. And those things involve boundaries. So if you want to learn more, go to my website, forrelationshiphelp.com. There's lots of things there for you, my blog and all. You can subscribe to my newsletter, Tips for Relationships. And if you want more videos right this moment, go to youtube.com/forrelationshiphelp. Talk soon.